Welcome back. We recently spent some time getting familiar with piecewise functions and their graphs, and today we're going to continue working with these functions, but switch gears to graphing them ourselves. And we'll use what we already know about evaluating functions and graphing linear, quadratic, and absolute value functions to do it. Let's get into it. Here's our first piecewise function. F of x equals negative 2x plus 5 if x is less than negative 1, and x plus 2 if x is greater than or equal to negative 1. To build the graph of this function, let's start by graphing both subfunctions, ignoring the domains for now. Go ahead and pause the video while you do that. The first line, f of x equals negative 2x plus 5, looks like this on the graph, starting at a y-intercept of 5 and following a slope of negative 2. Following the same process for the second subfunction gives us this line. But is this our final graph? Nope. Since this is a piecewise function, the graph will only contain pieces of each subfunction. This is where the domain for each interval comes in. The first interval has a domain of all x values less than negative 1. That means those are the only x values included in the function, and we can erase any part of the line that doesn't satisfy the domain. But before we can move on to the next subfunction, though, we need to figure out what the endpoint, where we just cut off the line, looks like. On the graph, we see when x is negative 1, y is 7, but we have to ask ourselves, is the function actually defined at this point? In other words, will there be an open or closed circle? The domain for the first piece of this function is all x values less than, but not equal to negative 1. So that means the function is not defined at negative 1, 7, and we'll show that using an open circle. The domain of the second interval is x is greater than or equal to negative 1. So we'll erase any part of the line with an x value that doesn't fit that domain. What about the endpoint when x is negative 1? Because this interval includes negative 1 in its domain, this time the endpoint will be a closed circle. And now we have our completed piecewise graph. For any value of x that's less than negative 1, the output is determined by the subfunction negative 2x plus 5, and for any x value greater than or equal to negative 1, the output is determined by the subfunction x plus 2. Let's try another one. G of x equals 3/4 x plus 3 if x is less than negative 4, 1/2 x plus 2 squared minus 3 if x is greater than or equal to negative 4 and less than or equal to 3, and 6 if x is greater than 3 and less than or equal to 10. All right, let's take this one interval at a time. The first interval follows the line 3/4 x plus 3. In the last example, we started by graphing the entire line and then erasing part of it to fit the domain, and that totally works, but it's not our only option. We could also take the approach that uses the starting and ending points of the domain intervals to evaluate the subfunction and create the graph for that piece of the domain. At what x value will this interval end? Yeah, at negative 4. So we can start by evaluating that endpoint, g of negative 4. That gives us an output of 0, so the endpoint is at negative 4, 0. What kind of circle will we use for this? Because the domain for this interval is x values less than negative 4 but not equal to, we'll use an open circle. From there, we can use the slope to plot more points and fill out the interval. Our graph will need to extend to the left to satisfy the domain of the interval. So to move to the left using a slope of positive 3/4, we'll go down 3 and 4 to the left. The completed interval will look like this. All right, on to the second piece. This one has two endpoints as seen in the domain when x is negative 4 and positive 3. Pause while you calculate the outputs and plot the endpoints on the graph. The endpoints for this interval will be at negative 4, negative 1, and 3, 9.5. Since both inequality symbols include the equal to line, Both points are plotted with closed circles. What kind of subfunction is used in the second interval? And what will its graph look like? Yeah, it's a quadratic, so it'll be a parabola. And because of that, we can't just use rise over run to fill in the interval. We'll want to take a little more time to make sure we're graphing it accurately. We do that by setting up a table and substituting a few x values included in the domain to find more points in the interval. Then we can plot those points to build out a sketch. The number of points to calculate will depend on how big the domain of the interval is, but 2 to 4 additional points is usually a good guideline. It can be helpful to use a good spread of points between the endpoints too, and they don't all have to be consecutive. And if you can identify the vertex from the subfunction, then that's a great point to use. Pause the video again while you calculate these additional points, plot them, and complete the graph for the second interval. Here are those output values and the graph. Even if you picked different x values than me, the sketch should look the same. Remember to make sure the graph is curved since the subfunction is a quadratic. Finally, we've got one more piece to finish up the graph. Where will the endpoints be? Right, when x is 3 and when x is 10. Because the third subfunction is a constant function, the output is the same no matter the input. It's 6. But we do need to pay attention to the inequality symbols used in the domain. The point at 3, 6 is plotted with an open circle, and the point at 10, 6 is plotted with a closed circle. Now we can fill in the interval between the endpoints, and again, because this piece involves a constant function, the output is 6 the whole way through, which looks like this. And now we have our completed piecewise graph. Go ahead and try one more using whichever method you'd prefer. When you're able to, use the slope of the subfunction to plot your points, and when you're not, fill in a table of values for inputs in the domain. Pause here while you work, and come back to check your graph. Starting with the first interval, its endpoints are at -8, -8, and 0, -12, both with open circles since the inequality symbols in this interval don't have the or equal to line. Since this interval involves a linear function, we can follow rise over run to build a line with a slope of -1/2 between the endpoints, or even just connect the endpoints directly to complete the interval. Moving on to the second piece, it also has an endpoint at 0, -12, but with a closed circle instead. What do you think we should do here? In cases like this, with an open and closed endpoint on the same point, the closed circle takes priority because the overall function is defined at that point. It doesn't matter which interval it comes from. Moving along, the other endpoint for the second piece is at 3, -9, plotted with an open circle. Because the second interval is a quadratic, we needed to create a table of values for inputs between the endpoints. Since the domain just goes from 0 to 3, this table won't have many x values. Most likely you just used 1 and 2, getting the points 1, -13 and 2, -12. Remember to connect these points with a curve. Last up, the third piece. The endpoint is at 3, -6 with a closed circle. To finish graphing this interval, once again, we'll want to use a table of values. Because there's no upper endpoint for this interval, we could choose any number of x values greater than 3, like 4, 5, 6, and 7. These inputs give us the outputs -5, -6, -7, and -8, allowing us to complete the graph. You might have chosen some different x values, but your final graph should look the same. Nice work graphing piecewise functions today. Remember to plot one interval at a time, starting with the endpoints, and pay close attention to the inequality symbols used in each interval. And if you can't use slope to plot additional points, build yourself a table of values. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Hey, hey.